And here we go into it. Will the trust of Annabelle play into a nicer ending for either of these summoners? It is LIVERT versus NICERSMICER, say, and the bans have come in, Raccoon and Sekhmet.
Raccoon and Sekhmet, both signaling very strong things. LIVERT likes to play those bruiser drafts, and therefore banning that Raccoon is a very respectable ban. On the other hand, if NICERSMICER starts to go for a more faster pace of draft, that Sekhmet might actually ruin that faster pace of draft. We have that NFL coming in, signature draft of LIVERT. NICERSMICER, probably something that you expected to see, and actually goes for a bruiser style as well on that first pick. Does he going to continue that as well? Goes for a very early Swiki. We have seen a lot of those from the China Cup. He's definitely have been looking at that one.
Exactly, Riley and Swiki as a counter to Annabelle. You can also notice, guys, if you haven't seen at the top, we see the highest ranking that these players have ever had during the ladder season. So LIVERT with 3rd and NICERSMICER with 22nd. Oh, it's absolutely stacked there. Who do you think LIVERT's going to follow up with? The Classics?
Well, actually, funny enough, the Kinky is most likely counted by that Swiki, therefore Swiki is picked. However, the Swiki already being on the field makes that Kinky pick somewhat in a weird position. Same for that Leona, and that's actually very well answered by that BO3 and the light pony Eleanor?
Yeah.
Eleanor, that is the one. Always mixing up those names, but definitely a unit that I would say, like, okay, NICERSMICER is saying, like, you are familiar with bruisering, I am familiar with bruisering. LIVERT is definitely on the back foot here, I would say, for saying, like, okay, I normally play against people that play very speedy. In this case, I'm playing someone that right away matches everything that I normally do. Molly, I'm not too sure if that's the right fitting unit here, but I definitely do like that Diana. However, you are fighting that pony that gives glancing, and we have a Coco last pick unit. We totally don't see too much, but that is a destroyer of bruiser units.
Who are we banning out here, say?
Yeah, bans, hard to say. I would say the BO3 is a lot of sustain, is a lot of damage, but on the other hand, the Swiki is gonna go off very strongly. Coco might have potential for that. On the other hand, I would say Diana might definitely be a threat as well. If the Diana is in the field, the other pony on the other side shouldn't be in the field, so there's a lot of potential bans here, and these players are also really taking their time for that specific ban.
Yeah, we see it there. Diana and Coco both taken out. There's a perfect synergy on NICERSMICER's team as long as that Swiki stays alive, right? Crit rate from Annabelle, and sadly no lead skill for NICERSMICER as we get in to LIVERT versus NICERSMICER.
Okay, what do we see? We have a BO3 max stacked right away. Is he going to go for that 3rd skill? I definitely would say so. There is going to be a lot of chip damage here. This fight is going to take on like quite a while. We might even get into like the 50% attack up, 50% HP down. But this fight is mainly revolving around who can kill the enemy heavy damage dealers first. We have that Swiki as heavy damage dealer, we have that Kinky as heavy damage dealer, we have that Leona with potentially a lot of damage, and the BO3 can deal out a lot of damage. The moment that these specific units go off, those are going to be the interesting factors of this match, and that's also where we see the first targeting going off on that Swiki. Keep in mind, a good rune Swiki has a lot of resistance, if not max resistance. That's going to be pretty difficult for that both Kinky to land any armor breaks, but also for the Leona to land any provokes or any stunts.
Exactly. I think these guys are going to have to wait to find that opening, right? The opportunity is going to take some time to present itself, but they need to jump on it at the moment that they can.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to take quite a while. And they're also really calculating, like, okay, where should I place which skill? Where should I place at which moment? What is the rotation going to be at? I'm fighting full immunity right now. But on the other side, there's not too much immunity. However, there's also not too many debuffs on the side of NICERSMICER. So besides that armor break, nothing is too much going to stick there for quite a while. And this is definitely going to be a match that's going to take quite a little bit of our time, but that is also the more interesting because this match is going to go on pretty long, but at some point a lot of these attacks go up, HP goes down, the Swiki or the Kinky will get a turn, it will be hyped, they will take their moment, they will go with an attack buff, and they will start destroying pretty much whole fields.
Well, that's what it is, right? It's the first match of your first preliminary. They're going to be calculated, they want to be sure that they're guaranteed a win, especially with the different playstyles that we see right now. Who do you think that NICERSMICER is? It seems like he's focusing a bit on the Annabelle right now. Is it right?
I would say that NICERSMICER is kind of stalling, and the stalling comes from that the Suiki gets the passive up, and every time the passive goes, you get a little bit more damage in there. And besides that, you're kind of just waiting for that opener once again. Like, you kind of want to have that proc of a skill 1 armor break skill 2. That's what was a lot of damage. However, the Leona that he chose to hit is also 100 resistance. It's a lot bit more hard to hit. We see that Molly going pretty down in HP right now. However, we have that healing of that, or not the Molly going down, the Annabelle going down. We have a little bit of healing, but I do see that this Suiki is moving pretty soon. If the Suiki moves, that might actually be a dead Annabelle.
Called it. I mean, he's going to be moving next, as you can see. Oh, will it?
Yeah, this is definitely going to kill.
Yeah, we've got one unit down.
That is one unit down, and that was mainly one of the sustain units of LIVERT rather than one of the units that actually is going to do a lot of damage later on. Definitely you do need that sustain unit. It provided that armor break. There's pretty much a lot less armor break potential right now on the side of LIVERT. However, I would also say with that uptime of the immunity from the pony, with the uptime of the immunity from the Riley, it is very difficult for LIVERT to find that opening to do a lot of damage. But on the other side, NICERSMICER does not fight any immunity, so any armor break that lands will stick for quite a while until something could be cleansed off.
Yeah, and it could be a huge proc by a Suiki, right? If he gets into that first defense break and then follows it up with second skill, it's going to cause damage like it did against Annabelle.
Yeah, definitely. The big issue is we see a lot of those resistance coming out back and forth. The Suiki is definitely 100% resistance build. Once again, 100% something that we've seen in the China Cup and worked out very well there against specifically this unit, the Kinky. So the funny thing is, NICERSMICER actually already counted a unit that was not on the field yet by just knowing how LIVERT drafts in general.
Exactly. Maybe it comes to bite you in the bottom if, you know, you keep sticking with what you've been using in ladder. The guy's prepared, obviously, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that's definitely something you can prepare against, and this is where you start to see that is a lot of damage. Will definitely be healed off by the Molly later. We actually have an armor break going back and forth right now, so that's going a lot of damage back and forth. We do have that cleanse from the Molly right now, so a little bit more survivability on that side of the Kinky. BO3 can drop that skill 3, it's going to heal a little bit on all of those units. And the armor break is once again gone. There's once again immunity, and this is once again going back to the battle around, the dance around, like, okay, who can draw that first armor break, who can start manipulating someone's HP bar from that armor break to get that HP bar all the way down to 0.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the importance of the cleanse, right? The cleanse of that defense break on especially NICERSMICER's side is not giving LIVERT any opportunity to make something happen here. Let's see if he can maybe get a defense break now.
Yeah, also the big question is, I'm not 100% sure, is this Kinky on Violent or is it a Despair Kinky? We haven't really seen the Despair potential because there was immunity at all times pretty much. We definitely do know that that Suiki is on Violent. So you have that skill 1 armor break, skill 2 potential, and that is at this point for sure going to clear any unit on the field.
Yeah, we're constantly cycling on NICERSMICER's side to get that cleanse right, and the moment we can cleanse it out, it's so much dangerous. We're adding stacks every time for BO3 too.
Yeah, BO3 is just cleanly stacking up, like keeping the units to max HP. It's not even really focusing on too much damage. However, this damage right now, is that enough? Not enough. Would have needed that proc to actually deal enough damage.
Exactly, but BO3's going to follow up and steal her. A lot of health here anyway.
Yeah, and actually that a lot of heal stacking is very good, because now even the pony can just finish off simply on that Molly. And we do see that it is a Despair Kinky. So Despair Kinky is absolutely not the best build in this position. In a lot of other fights it would definitely make sense to have it. However, in this case, you're fighting that much immunity. A Vio proc would have done a lot more than a Despair potential, because you have no Despair potential if you're fighting immunity.
Exactly, but now he knows that, and he obviously can't change it for the second set. What do you think he does differently? Does he have to get rid of that Suiki?
Yeah, actually a pre-ban on that Suiki is definitely something that could be interesting. A steal on the Riley could have been an option. There's actually a lot of options that LIVERT could go for, because I think a lot of these matches that he plays on ladder are not exactly this kind of heavy bruiser matches. So in this case, are you familiar enough with it, or are you just expecting your opponent to try to counter you but then not really succeed? But in this case, NICERSMICER is doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing, and we have that insta-kill exactly like it was predicted. At some point you just have that attack buff, enough damage from the up and downs that we see going through the match, and we have that win for NICERSMICER.
Wow, NICERSMICER really almost playing LIVERT at his own game, right? Like managing to bruise it out, take it all the way through to the end, and then that SWC doing some insane damage once the opening was there. What does LIVERT have to change now, do you think?
I'm not entirely sure. It goes for the pony ban, which is pretty interesting. Same ban on the other side. Very interestingly enough, is that NICERSMICER actually went for saying like, okay, I ban out your unit that kind of controls the speed teams. So I ban out that segment. However, that was a mind game because NICERSMICER was saying like, okay, I'm playing this mind game. I'm expecting you to say like, okay, then I'm going to ban certain things, pick certain things. But NICERSMICER went completely the other route and went full bruiser. In this case, match is going on, and NICERSMICER is definitely showing more of a speedy draft. We're seeing a speedy unit on the side of LIVERT with that segment, but we also see that pure vanilla cookie on the dark one, which has the Oblivion on the skill 2, AoE strip on that skill 3, which already has the potential for, okay, we have that Shizuka plus Oblivion, we have a potential for AoE Oblivion, plus we have that Raccoon for a lot of protection. So once again, we're looking into a very bruiser heavy match.
Wow, it is, and here we have the answer from LIVERT. He's going to decide to go for Riley and Kinky. As we know now, it's on a despair build. How do you think NICERSMICER is going to react? Is he going to go for the speed then?
I definitely don't think he goes fully for the speed, because that's the interesting thing about the dark cookie over there. You could say like, okay, I just use that, but then I'm still going to bruiser. And he actually goes for a very interesting unit, the dark Asura, known as Vitra or Vitra. I have looked it up how you would say it in the actual language, which I think is Hindi, and it will be Vitra. And that is a very interesting unit. Definitely not a unit we've seen all too much. Together with that cigar, simply explanation about what does the unit actually do. It is skill 1, multi-hits, and branding, skill 2, multi-hits, additional damage, all of that kind of good stuff, continuous damage, and then the skill 3 actually has a threat state. And funny enough, LIVERT says like, okay, you have a unit that counters and goes for threat state and all of those kind of provokes. Well, it doesn't necessarily have a provoke, but threat state kind of is a provoke. And then it's like, okay, I have one of those units too. Let me introduce you to Gurkha. Pretty much tournament winner of last year. How is it going to fare out currently, because it's slightly nerfed from last year?
I'm wondering if it might even be banned at the end, right? These two units, which are both dark units, and let's see if they actually decide to ban them out, or if they go for a different strategy around it. Sekhmet and Cigar. Fast units, I guess.
Dare I ask you both? Looking at the lineups here, who do you think will take this next round?
Oh, this is a cast a curse. We don't want to say anything. We just want to enjoy it, Adam.
So in this case, for this match, we have NICERSMICER and LIVERT round 2. First turn going to that Vitra. What can you do with it? This is a unit I'm also not too familiar with. In this case, didn't show all too much, but it does have that threat state up, and that's mainly the thing that you want to give every time. You want to have that threat state up, and there's actually a very interesting interaction that you have over here. The moment that you use your Shizuka skill 3 right now, everyone will have threat state. And as I have been explaining before on the stream, everyone threat state means actually no one is a threat state. So everything is a threat, nothing is a threat. But you have this very interesting interaction that you have to hit each individual unit 2 times to actually get rid of the threat state. So if you were to, let's say, hit the Shizuka 2 times right now, get it down to very low HP, you actually have to hit something else afterwards. That means that it's very strange to have like, okay, everything is a threat, nothing is a threat, I don't really care. But it's actually pretty strong, because you have to do 8 different hits before you get rid of all of those threat states. And that is definitely something that might be kind of difficult to get through. The question, however, I have with this fight is, where is the damage from NICERSMICER? Because the damage is gonna come, I guess, from that Vitra. But yeah, does the Vitra have enough damage? Because Vitra's skill 3 is actually scaling on max HP. Max HP, as we know, goes down in the fight. But we have that additional damage potential. So are these additional damage artifacts enough to do enough damage?
We can see a brand in there as well, and I think we missed it, but it was super important that Shizuka puts up all of that immunity with the Gurkha on the field, right? Although it's got the Oblivion, now Shizuka also still has Oblivion in her skill 3 coming up probably as soon as she can cycle through it, right?
Yeah, definitely. The only thing that NICERSMICER actually still needs is for LIVERT to place armor breaks anywhere. Then there's also an attack buff from the Riley, and this Shizuka is actually going into like some insane value, where it is like, okay, there's all of these disbeneficial debuffs that are landing on me, but now I can spread them to you. And with that, you actually have huge potentials for having a very strong Shizuka skill 3 there.
Yeah, exactly. And plus, we know that the Kinky is on despair, so there might even be a stun to include into that as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. So we have a lot of debuffs on the field here, potentially. We have even that slow from the NFL if that decides to land as well. And for LIVERT, you're just like, okay, what am I doing here? Like, there's really the point of like, what is the potential of killing here? The threat state is gone right now from the Vitra and from the Dark Cookie. However, where are you gonna place your hits the moments that you can actually go for a proper hit?
Exactly, there's so much threats. Oh, we see a seal as well, actually.
Seal on... That is the very first seal, if I'm not mistaken, in all of SWC so far.
Wow.
I haven't seen everything, but I have seen most of it. And now we actually have the cycling with the provoke. However, Raccoony is like, okay, that was provoke, but I'm Raccoony. I still remove those if it's the lowest HP unit.
Is it now the opportunity, say, for LIVERT with no immunity on the side of NICERSMICER to get Gurkha going?
Yeah, definitely Gurkha going is going to be very important. Also, this Kinky is going to start to do a lot of damage. And this guy is... The Kinky has the attack buff. And there's no proc potential. Once again, a Kinky that would be on Violent would do a lot more things. The stun is pretty nice, but once again will be removed by that Raccoony later as well. We do have AoE armor break landing right now. That does also mean that Shizuka will pick up the armor break and will pick up the slow.
Exactly, but maybe Gurkha has something to say so that she doesn't able to get it to... Oh, taking the threat away. Was that a good decision?
Well, you have to take the threat away. You cannot decide to go for any of the other units if there is actually that threat state on the field. So you have to respect the threat state. The game doesn't allow you to hit anything else. And the threat state is constantly there. We're one turn away from that Shizuka. If it takes a proc, did not take that proc. That would have been super huge and super crucial because there was no immunity on the field. There would have been so many buffs on the side of NICERSMICER and so many debuffs on the side of LIVERT. But we're one turn away from that, and we do have some healing coming in, with potential of other units being able to pick up maybe a little bit of damage and controlling by that Gurkha.
Exactly. I'm wondering now if Kinky still even had skill 2 available.
Kinky has never done skill 2 yet, if I'm not mistaken, so definitely has that skill 2 available. Attack buff, so much damage. How much are we going to see? We're killing 2 units off the field. This is exactly what LIVERT was waiting for. This whole match, we're waiting for that. Okay, we're cycling, we're playing around. We're going to see what is the opener with the armor break, with the damage, with the attack buff. Never using the Kinky S2, waiting for that perfect moment. It is up. You destroy the rest of the enemy field. And that is a victory for LIVERT, and we're 1-1.
Oh my god, it seems like these guys in both matches now have waited for the perfect moment to then be able to do it. Seems like the all of the Sweekies, the Kinkies are having their fun today. Not only in China, it's now in Europe as well, as we see a Bulwark pre-ban along with a Sekhmet, say.
Yeah, definitely that Sekhmet pre-ban again. It is definitely a unit that LIVERT likes to pick up. It was also both pre-banned and post-banned from NICERSMICER toward LIVERT. In this case, LIVERT is like, okay, you've been picking that Riley. I don't really like to play into that. You're probably not going to steal my NFL, so I can take the NFL in a later slot. I first secure that Riley.
Yeah, exactly. You have to make sure that the units you want later on are still available for you to choose, right? So you have to choose the ones that you know that you're going to be a little bit more safe with. If anyone steals LIVERT's Anivel, they're up for no good. They know exactly what they're doing, but have they ruined it well enough? As we see now, Dark Cookie and Raccoony.
Raccoony once again with that Dark Cookie, so definitely potential for many kinds of drafts. You could go very bruiser with that, you could go first turn with that potentially as well if you decide to add in like the Valantis, maybe some AoE CC units, the Chung Pang, the Moor, maybe anything like that. But you would have to be careful, like do I do enough damage against those? LIVERT probably will go still for the comfortable picks, probably picking that up that NFL, maybe the Kinky as well, maybe one of his LD5s, the Leona. Still goes for that Kinky.
Wow, what a call, sir. Anivel, Kinky, straight in. It looks exactly like a typical LIVERT. Oh, here we go.
And
Saga.
that's actually a different pace that I was talking about as well. NICERSMICER doesn't necessarily have to go with bruises, and that's very nice about these first 2 units that you see on the field. You can deviate from that of saying like, okay, I'm going for the Van Cliff. Very strong unit, can potentially stun a lot of things. And that Cigar, which we definitely do see a lot in tournament play, answered by that LIVERT. It's like, okay, you're gonna have many turns of stuns. I have a unit that prevents that in that Seimei. Probably goes for a little bit more protection next to that as well, with a Josephine.
Wow. Seimei and Josephine coming in for the response for LIVERT, but NICERSMICER now has a good 20 seconds left to figure out exactly what he's going to do. What's your pick here, Say?
I would definitely say that something along the lines of a Chunk Pong might still be pretty good. With the Chunk Pong, you have the pushback mechanics, but also a unit that is not picked up too much would be a Ganymede. However, we do see that Chunk Pong in here. Let's go for the bans. Bans, I think the Raccoon might definitely be troublesome, but the Chunk Pong definitely is a value of a ban as well. On the other side, I think the Seimei is definitely a struggle of a unit, but on the other hand, we have seen that damage from that Kinky, and that can do a lot of things as well.
There we go, it's Seimei and Cigar that have been banned out. We've got an accuracy lead for Livert, HP lead for NICERSMICER as we get into the final set to see who makes their way through to the semi-finals of today.
Yeah, let's see. First turn goes to that Cookie. AoE strips, does not manage to land it on the Kinky. Is that going to be troublesome? I'm not entirely sure. Very interesting interaction with the Raccoon moving right after that. We can place that Oblivion. Oblivion on the Josephine. If there's stunts coming out right now, Josephine is going to be like, sorry, I'm Oblivion. But what can this Van Cliff do? Also, definitely a unit we do not see too much, but that is a very interesting unit that has potential for quite a bunch of stunts. Only landed 2 stunts though, but they're multiple turn stunts if I'm not mistaken.
Exactly, you can see the importance here of Oblivion. It's just managed to basically render Livert a little bit useless for a few turns, but let's see if he can survive through it. Or NICERSMICER might take him out.
The big question is like, okay, you did your whole rotation right now, but the big issue is like, okay, you did all of your rotation, but we have that NFL. The NFL cleansing still there. We're 1 turn away from that, however, but we do have that Riley skill 4 for sure. I'm not entirely sure Riley was also reset. So Riley skill 4 does give a little bit of protection right now. Now the big question is going to be NICERSMICER. Can you kill off that Kinky or any other unit before something happens? We have nice strips coming up once again. No skills from that Van Cliff whatsoever though.
Yeah, exactly. You can see that Cookie doing some good work there, stripping, and now got deciding for skill. Oh, big proc to get the Kinky.
NICERSMICER definitely has been looking at the China qualification match. Having that Cookie on Violent is definitely something we've seen there as well, and it has been showing high value there as well. We do have that NFL coming up pretty soon with that skill too, to actually try to get back in the match, but in current situation it's looking very dire for Livert, and NICERSMICER is sitting in the driver position. But we have that armor break potential into damage potential. How much damage are you gonna do?
Do it. Come on, Josephine, show us. Decides to go for Raccoon.
Interesting take of going for that Raccoon, because Raccoon in the end, it's not really a damage threat you have to get rid of. Sure, it's pretty annoying to play against with all of the cleanses, all of the heals. But I would have expected something that was armor broken to start losing a lot of HP. But in this case was decided not to go for that.
Yeah, but we can see the Van Cliff is back with all skills next time round, right? And this Cookie is probably going to strip into the slow, gets all of them into Chung Pung skill 3. Whoa!
Definitely that Chunk Pong is having some huge values right there. It's definitely showing like, okay, this was the right unit to be picked at that moment. And definitely showing like, okay, I am controlling your team. I know you're a lot slower than I am. I know you try to bruiser, but try to bruiser when you pretty much don't get any turns, just on the back foot, trying to survive. Don't get actually any damage off. And this is looking very favorable for NICERSMICER right now.
Yeah, this is really well played. Maybe Josephine has some sort of answer to try, but realistically right now, taking her down with a Riley versus 4, it's going to be pretty damn impossible for Livert. Well, it is impossible.
Yeah, there's a few units on the battlefield of Summoner's War that have the potential for a 1v4, but Livert does know that the Riley is not one of them, and therefore we have the victory to NICERSMICER.